Welcome, welcome to this PMO Learning Series. Are you running a PMO office? Do you find it challenging? Do you find it rewarding, or both? Today, you are here to learn, to grow, to develop yourself, to rise to the top. And we, as a PMO Global Institute, are here to give you all the resources to help you. So, in today's episode, we're going to give you insights and tips from a PMO expert. We're going to give you a fire chat with no other than our CEO. We're going to give you PMO trends, news updates, career, and there is a big money surprise also. So stay tuned. And without further ado, we're going to start with our topic for today and our first guest. And that is Mike Martin. And the topic for today is how to conduct a PMO maturity assessment practically. Welcome, welcome, Mike. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Rachel. Pleasure to meet you. Great to be here today. Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you too. And let me first of all introduce you before I fire up the questions. Your introduction, in a nutshell, listen up, people. Mike is, and I'm reading because I can't memorize all of that. Mike is a globally recognized expert in project, program, portfolio management, enterprise governance, risk compliance, and organizational change management. He founded M2 Consulting Group and has led initiatives for renowned organizations like IBM, Arthur Andersen, KPMG, Microsoft Corporation. Michael is also a speaker and an author of several books and publications. The last one, Delivering Project Excellence, which I checked on Amazon. It's right there if you want it. He holds multiple certifications and has played key roles in the Project Management Institute. His academic background: an MBA from the University of North Florida, bachelor's in civil engineering from West Virginia University Institute and Technology. I also know he has 2 dogs, he has hobbies, he has 2 sons, he's married to his lovely wife, he has grandkids and another one on the way. Mike, do you even have time to sleep?
Barely, trust me. Yeah. And I don't feel old enough to have grandkids. So
Ooh, yeah. Time flies, isn't it?
it does. Yes, way too fast. Way too fast.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait, to dive into these questions that I have for you and to let people learn and grow and, and learn from your insights as well. So I'm going to start with the first question right away.
Sure.
It's all about the PMO maturity assessment, right? So what is a PMO maturity model?
Well, basically, Rachel, a maturity model is a framework or a tool that we can use to assess and measure an organization's maturity and capability in a particular area, like the PMO. It can help serve as a roadmap for measuring progress and improvement going forward as well. And really helps us establish that baseline of where we're at currently, at current state within the organization. There's a lot of maturity models out there. If you go out and do a Google search, you're going to find a lot of information on, multiple models out there. Some of the big ones, of course, are the OPM3 model, the capability maturity model from the Software Engineering Institute, project management maturity model from PM Solutions, a project framework from the SI and George Washington University. And of course, we have the PMO maturity model from the PMO Global Institute that we're kind of focusing on today.
Yeah, and it is to set the baseline really, and then take it from there. And that's
Yes.
what I want to talk about too. Is, well, first of all, why should we conduct a maturity assessment of the PMO? Why?
Great question. Why do we do this? Why do we go through this effort? And really, if you get to one key element, it's to understand what our current state is. Where are we currently as far as maturity goes in the PMO? And unless we have that baseline starting point, it's really hard to measure improvements going forward. It's kind of an unknown. We didn't know where we started, so how do we know how we're improving going forward? I'll give you a real quick story. I had an opportunity to work with a gentleman by the name of Dr. David Cleland. For those of you who are you've been in project management for a long time, you're probably familiar with Dr. Cleland, the Literature Award through the Project Management Institute is named after David. But David and I were working on the research board for PMI together, and he was actually conducting research on a new book that he was doing. And he called me one day, he said, Mike, he said, I'm looking for information on organizations that have kind of baselined where they were before they implemented project management and where they are now. How much did they improve over time? And it was really, really tough to find that information. Go and do a literature search to find anything. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, if a company actually did it, they may have been performing poorly. So they're not going to share that with the public, of course. You know, and another reason could be that a lot of times when executives want to implement a PMO, they realize that they're maybe not performing as well as they should in delivering projects. So they just want to get out there and start doing it. They don't want to take the time to kind of baseline where they are now. So they don't do that. But we did find one report, a paper that was done by the gentleman by the name of Brad Price with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And the Corps actually implemented program project management around 1986. And the Corps measured performance over the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years and documented that. So that was one of the few papers that we were able to find that actually showed those improvements. So why do we do a maturity assessment? One, to do that. You know, two more kind of big reasons. It helps us identify the strengths and weaknesses within the organization. So whatever we're doing well, those strengths, we want to continue doing well. And you know, the weaknesses, those are our challenges. That's where we need to improve. So we'll then develop a roadmap, you know, as part of that maturity assessment on how we need to improve to get to that next level of maturation.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Really. Oh, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And I do like examples and, you know, stories, because then people can relate better, and it makes a lot of sense for sure.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was a great, you know, piece, because, you know, Dr. Cleland had written like 30 some textbooks, and for him not to be able to find that information.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, totally makes sense now. Now let's dive into it, right? What are the stages of a PMO maturity model?
Well, specifically talking about the PMO maturity model, and if you look at all the other models, all of them vary, but the PMO maturity model basically has 5 levels. There's an initiation level, which is level 1. At this point, most of the processes are undefined. You know, it's kind of chaos, if you will. Projects are being run on an ad hoc basis. There's no consistency in tools, templates, processes at that point. Next is level 2, which is the developing level. And here, you know, some of the processes are defined and templates are defined, but not all of them. So we still have, you know, gaps within the organization there. And then level 3 is the define level. At this point, all the processes, templates are defined and are being followed consistently throughout the organization. Next, we're going to move into level 4 and 5, where we're starting to optimize some of these. So level 4 is the managed level. And at the managed level, you know, some of the processes are optimized, but again, not all of those are optimized at that point, but we're getting to kind of that full optimization, if you will. And then level 5 is the optimization level. And at this point, all processes are fully optimized. At this point, you're pretty much best in class, if you will, you know, across industry and in comparison with other PMOs around the world. And I apologize, I've got the sun coming up.
Oh my gosh, you read my mind. I was just going to say, like, it looks like a really nice and sunny day over there.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get up and close those blinds, but yeah, it is.
No, it's kind of fun. It has that little science fiction effect.
Yeah. I'll try to back up a little bit if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, the sound is still okay if you back up a bit. But yeah, it's intriguing. It's fun.
It was kind of dark when we started, but yeah, the sun's coming up quite bright this morning.
Oh well, we don't want to you know, close off the sun. The sun is always good. It's always good. Yeah. Okay, so we know the stages. Thank you for that. Very interesting, actually. And then, how do you actually, you know, the title of the topic is the practical part. Yeah. So how do you carry out a PMO maturity assessment?
Yeah, so the PMO maturity model that's published by the PMO Global Institute, you know, the way I kind of look at it is kind of like in finance. It's that quick ratio acid test, if you will, for the PMO organization. It's very short, simple, straightforward. Unlike some of the other models, like the project framework model, that could take several months to do that analysis because you go through questionnaires, interviews, document reviews, and can be a really lengthy process. For the PMO maturity model, there's basically 5 key indicator areas that we're looking at in that model. First is the accuracy and timeliness of the information. Second indicator is the tracking and management of the benefits. Next, the third one is resource management. Fourth is the management and delivery consistency. And then fifth is the unplanned cost and issues on the organization. So there's those 5 key indicators that we're tracking and grading against. So we have the 5.
That makes it easy, by the way. If you have these 5 key elements, like, okay, tick the box, that's
exactly. Yeah. And within each of those key indicator areas, they've identified kind of statements or maturity levels, if you will. If you're mature, if there's a statement that kind of applies to that. There's 3 kind of scoring criteria that is applied to each of these indicator areas. First is optimistic. And that's kind of telling us we're very mature in that particular indicator area. It has an equivalent score of 1. Next is a moderate level. So we're kind of in between being very mature and immature at that point. We're middle of the road. And that has a scoring equivalent of 0.5. And then at the very bottom is the pessimistic level. That's our lowest level. We're very immature in that key indicator. So of course our score there is going to be lower, and it's has an equivalent score of 0.2. So it's a little bit of an unusual scoring system because it goes 0.2 for pessimistic, 0.5 for moderate, and then 1 for optimistic. So you have a single score for each indicator area. And we then sum total those up. We have an aggregate score for all 5 key areas. So for example, if we come up with an aggregate score of 2, that tells me that we're at level 2 of the maturity model. We're in the developing kind of level of maturation for that PMO. So very quick, very short, very simple, but it does give us a kind of an indication
how to implement it.
Totally.
And what to expect too. That's interesting. Interesting and very clear as well. To follow those key elements. So okay, so now we know that. How can an organization then move through those key elements, like move from stage 1 to the next to the next?
Yeah, so basically it's just meeting the scoring criteria, that scoring threshold, or any criteria for that next level. So if I were to do kind of the quick maturity assessment and it came up at a level 2, I would go back and review with the organization where maybe they scored in a pessimistic score for one of the key indicator areas, and look at what they need to do to improve that to the moderate level or possibly optimized level. So you're going through that and trying to identify those areas where they can improve and do better and get a better score to increase them to the next level. And that's where the roadmap really comes in play to help organizations improve upon those weaknesses or those challenged areas.
I guess on a side note here, like the speed of moving from one stage to another, it really depends on what they still need to implement or improve.
Yeah, and you'll hear various numbers thrown out. You'll hear, oh, it takes a year, it takes 2 years to get from one level to the next. And then some of the larger comprehensive models, there's a lot of things that have to be met to achieve that next level. But yeah, it could easily take a year or two to possibly get to that next level.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting to know as well. That don't get discouraged. It takes time.
Yeah, it's a journey. It really is. And you really have to think of your PMO as a journey. It's a continuous improvement process. So you never really become perfect. There's always improvement areas. And when we do things like the methodology and the PMO, we'll find things that don't work so well, and those are the areas we improve on. And it's just again a continuous improvement process.
Yeah, we always want to improve, and so talking about that, what are some common challenges? I think that would be a very helpful thing to talk about. What would be some common challenges that organizations face when they move through those stages?
Yeah, one of the big ones is lack of leadership, lack of executive support. And I've personally seen this. If you don't have that executive sponsorship and support, it's going to be very difficult to improve and get better. So you really have to have that. And I can't emphasize that enough. It's absolutely critical to have that executive sponsorship supporting that effort. Another challenge is lack of resources, both from participants in providing information and being interviewed or participating in that assessment, as well as potentially assessors. So with the PMO maturity model, it's a little bit easier. You get in some of the larger maturity models, becomes a real challenge because you could be interviewing 100 people, 50 people, and it takes time to do that and resources to do it as well too. And the time piece, there's time constraints as well. Leadership always wants something done much quicker.
Quick, fast, quick.
Be done now. So there's challenges there with that as well. Another one's resistance to change.
Ooh, that's a big one. Yeah.
People don't want to change. We're comfortable in the way we do things, even though
we love our comfort zone.
Maybe aren't the best. So there's always that resistance to change as well. And even sharing of information, that transparency piece, resistance to transparency and sharing that information. I've had organizations before actually hide information before in the maturity assessment because they don't want to share it. And a lot of times, not saying that they're doing something illegal or anything, but they're not managing projects the way they should, and they maybe don't want to share that. And I think it's important that particularly if we're doing interviews and things like that and capturing data, that we emphasize to the participants that any information they provide will be done on an anonymous basis, so their name won't be affiliated with that. And when we do that, participants tend to be much more open with sharing that information with us and getting it to us for the assessment.
Those are a whole bunch of challenges, but it's
there's a lot of challenges.
And it's really good to know. Especially for everybody who's listening and viewing now, it's really good to know, like, what can you expect. I think this is really important to discuss. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And sharing your experience. So what are some strategies then, facing those challenges, wanting to move the stages? What are some strategies to continue enhancing that maturity of the PMO?
Yeah, so probably one of the big ones is having that roadmap. That's going to lay out our strategy for, say, the next 12 to 18 months. What are we going to do to address these challenges that were identified in the assessment and in the maturity report? Again, got to have good executive sponsorship. You need to have buy-in from all the key stakeholders as well too. If you're doing, say, an assessment of a single PMO, it's not as bad. But if I'm doing an assessment of, say, an enterprise PMO, which covers multiple business units across the organization, I need to have buy-in from all those key stakeholders as well too. And I've seen this firsthand. If you don't, you may have some challenges in those areas, getting participation, getting data from those individual business units. So you've got to have a strategy and the buy-in from all of those folks as well. You need to have clear goals and objectives, what you want to achieve kind of going forward as well too. There's other things like having a document artifact repository. So as you're gathering all this information, where are you repositing it? We need to have some type of knowledge repository available to us as well, to have that strategy and increase the maturity of the organization going forward. Of course, having the methodology toolkit developed is also going to help significantly in the maturity as well going forward, from a strategy standpoint. So those are a few there.
Yeah, just to name a few, because I'm sure you can go on for a long time.
There's a lot there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh wow. So I mean, we want to give our viewers and listeners, the best tips and insights. So if you could give us 5 of your best tips or takeaways for everybody watching now, then what would those be?
Have I said the sponsorship before? The executive sponsorship and leadership, you've got to have that. So pure and simple, you must have that. Establishing the baseline. You go into doing an assessment, recognizing that you're establishing current state and that baseline for doing it. but yeah, really starting off that leadership sponsorship is actually absolutely key. Start with an end in mind. What do we want to achieve with this maturity assessment? And it's also going to help us determine what model we choose. What maturity model do we choose? If we need to have kind of a quick assessment, specifically around the PMO, then we're going to probably use that PMO maturity model. If we need to have a much deeper dive, then maybe we're looking at project framework or one of those other models, to possibly do that. I'm not sure what number that is. I'm probably rambling from the number, but we need to have various data collections as well. So, with the PMO maturity model, it's very simple, very straightforward, but we could use other things like questionnaires, one-to-one interviews, review of all the data documents, artifacts within the PMO as well. And then last but not least, takeaway is have a roadmap, have a plan of action moving forward. And two probably big ones out of that is having the executive sponsorship and key buy-in from the stakeholders, and then establishing that roadmap going forward. And that's going to help us reach that next level of maturation and show those areas of improvement for leadership, because they're funding this. So they want to see how we're improving and what we're doing to improve that process and deliver projects more successfully going forward.
Wow, this has been, very condensed, but very, very informative. Really, thank you. I'm learning too here,
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Good.
Good. Absolutely. So don't go away, Mike, because
okay. I'm just trying to stay out of the sun right now, so.
Don't move. It's good. It's good now. It's almost like it's going down a little bit. It's perfect.
Yeah, a little bit.
Perfect. So don't go away, because I am going to add our dear CEO for our fire chat round. Welcome, Mr. Abdullah. How are you today?
Very good.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, good morning. Michael, really pleasure to meet you today. How is your day?
Doing fine, Abdullah. Yourself?
Yes.
Let me just take a brief moment to introduce you, and then I'll give the stage to you. Just a few seconds, because I want to properly introduce our CEO, which is the founder and CEO, of course, of our global PMO Global Institute, which is a certification body for CB PMO certification. And Mr. Abdullah is on a mission to make the PMO education available in 200 countries. So the fire chat round, I will remove myself. It's all yours.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. I was hearing on the backstage, Rachel was, asking all these very interesting questions, and wow, Michael, it was, really, brilliant to hear you, all the expertise you have from your experience, right? But this session is going to be a bit different than as usual, the interview sessions you have. Are you ready for this, rapid?
I am ready. And by the way, Abdullah, that's where all this gray hair comes from, is that experience.
Oh, yeah. I have one of
the project challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. My God, you have a great profile. The experience you have in the space of PMO, this is remarkable. You work
thank you.
Microsoft, KPMG, you have your own business, right? So you are an enterprise PMO. So all the PMOs, acronyms, if you say that, Michael has all of this. Congratulations, Michael. You're a big asset for the PMO world.
Thank you very much.
So these sessions, is going to be a bit personal, and also going to be interesting, and then you have no preparations. I'll be asking you a couple of questions on the fly, and let's see how well you do, right?
Okay, so sounds great.
There will be a winner or loser. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me, how's your day so far?
How's the one? I'm sorry.
How is your day so far?
That's good. It's very early morning, so as I was telling Rachel, the sun's kind of chasing me. Here it was dark when we started, and one of the blinds was open, so I haven't had a chance to close it. But day's going great so far. It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, I'm happy to see your smiling face as well, Michael. So Michael Martin, right? It's a very strong name.
Mhm.
How do you define yourself in one sentence, Michael?
In one sentence, I think honest, trustworthy, husband, father, grandfather now. So
Congratulations.
but yeah, kind of in a short sentence, that would be me, I guess. Yeah. So yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So you're saying that today's topic is maturity assessment, probably one of the most toughest
Hmm.
area in the space of PMO, right?
Right.
So understanding the maturity and assessing the maturity of the organizations,
Hmm.
and you cannot just use one tool to actually really assess one organization using a common tool. So you may have to customize your tools for different PMOs with the different
Yep.
tools according to their capability and background.
Yep.
So from a PMO point of view, you're expert, but in terms of life,
Uh-huh.
where do you see yourself in terms of maturity level 1 to 5?
Level 1 to 5, probably 4. I hope I
Four?
haven't topped out yet.
No, I think almost not. I think you have years of experience. So
Yeah.
yes. Uh,
And I mentioned Dr. Cleland, during the presentation, and I was actually with David at a conference one time. We were in Paris or somewhere, and David was the keynote speaker, and the gentleman introduced him and said, David's the worldwide subject matter expert in program and project management. And he got up and graciously thanked the host, and he said, I just want to say I'm not a subject matter expert. He said, I'm learning every time I teach a class, every time I go to a conference, I'm constantly learning. And this is a gentleman that had written over 30 books in program and project management.
oh my God.
Yeah. So
Very
it's kind of stuck with me, no matter how old you are, you're always learning. Uh, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and in fact, we all normally say that the learning has three layers in life, right? So one is the early stage, then we move, in the early stage, like probably in the teens, when we think that we know everything
Mhm.
we do in life. Then gradually, as more we start learning, then we move to level two. Level two actually is more on we listen more than talk less.
Right.
Yeah, because we know that we don't know anything, and it's the whole world is it's a space to to learn, to
Yeah.
grow, learn to grow, right? So
Yeah.
so I consider myself also in that level two, that you know every layer we are moving forward, we are learning something,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so I think also in the level three we say that it's more on a nirvana stage. It's more on
Hmm. Yep.
the next level where you think that the meaning of life is what is the meaning of life,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
It's a difficult layer to actually move on, right? So I
Yeah,
consider
yeah.
myself in level two, right? So yeah, like that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
Still
that
up,
level 4, we've optimized a little bit, but we're not fully
yeah,
there. And I don't think anybody ever really gets there, to be
yeah,
honest. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And the space of PMO, think of the situations in the space of PMO. Oh my God, probably one of the statistics, that about 71% PMOs, they have some kind of PMO around the world.
Hmm.
That means all the mid-size and large size
Yeah.
PMOs, they have a PMO. They call it a PMO, right?
Uh-huh.
But in terms of maturity assessment, they're still in operating level one.
Uh-huh.
One of the statistics says 88% PMO still operates in level one. That means they don't
Yeah.
have the defined process, procedures, the 2PG we call it, right? That means in this space, the level of scope we all have to
Mhm.
contribute and to educate our people, so that's a different level, right? So
Mhm.
anyways, let me ask you one tough question to you, because you have these years of experience, right?
Okay.
What's the biggest problems you have solved so far?
What's the say again? I'm sorry.
Biggest problems you have solved so far?
Biggest problem I have solved regarding the maturity assessment
No,
or
no, no, anything in life.
anything in life. Uh, Biggest problem I've solved. Um, Good question.
It's not
I know
going to
some challenges I've had, that I didn't necessarily solve, but have kind of overcome. But probably the biggest challenges is from a project management standpoint. Doing some of the methodology work that we did at, say, Arthur Andersen, where it was a truly global organization and was going from a very ad hoc kind of process to managing projects to a very formal way of doing them going forward through what was called Arthur Andersen Architected Solutions. So to me, that was probably a great success story, but also one of the biggest challenges as well too. It was like herding 100,000 cats, if you will.
Oh my God, is it?
Yeah.
So you're talking about that one of the PMO problem that you have solved, right? So what was the context of this, and and if you can just brief me.
Yeah. So at that time, Arthur Andersen was the largest consultancy in the world, as you may recall, and they had a consultant come in and they evaluated the organization, determined how well they were performing, how well they were delivering projects. Well, what they uncovered was, they were losing a substantial amount of money in mismanaged projects. Conservative estimate, probably around 60 to 70 million at the time. And if you talk to partners, that was probably a conservative number. It's probably much more than that. So, if you go to Kuala Lumpur, projects would be managed one way, go to London another way, New York another way. So it was just ad hoc, inconsistent, level one for sure. And this was the prime consultancy in the world, number one consultancy in the world. And you would think those types of organizations are best in class. It wasn't the case. They're very good at what they did, but again, it was reinventing the wheel every time. A lot of inconsistency, on how projects were being managed. So what we did was come in, we developed the full consulting methodology, which was known as Arthur Andersen Architected Solutions. I was responsible for the program project management and change enablement piece, and built that consistency. We had significant pushback from a lot of the partners. They didn't want to follow this kind of standard framework. They thought it was silly. They wanted to do it their own way. But after we rolled this out, and the initial deployment went to 10,000 consultants worldwide, that was the initial plan prior to the firm collapsing. But once they saw that standardization and how it helped them, they no longer had to reinvent the wheel. They knew what was expected from them from a quality assurance standpoint. So the buy-in became very quick once they saw the importance of it and the value it really brought to the firm in helping to deliver that. So that's probably the biggest challenge, biggest engagement, most significant that I've worked on in my career, and ended up being a great success story.
I understand it's not easy. I understand it's not easy. No,
Yeah.
One of the typical criticism we PMOs receive that we are like a police organizations, right? So and a lot of other departments, they initially sometimes they don't tend to actually support the PMOs, and also how do you what should we do to actually come out from this fair? We are not a police organization.
I think really showing the value. How can it improve delivery of projects? And for executive leadership, how's it going to improve the bottom line? How are they going to improve revenue and move forward? There was a great study that was done by Dr. William Ibbs and Young-Hoon Kwak. Young is a professor at George Washington University now, and Bill, I think, is still maybe affiliated with the University of California, Berkeley. That's where he was when he did the study. But they developed a return on investment algorithm that tied into the maturity model. So by showing improving maturity in the organization, how that helped increase the return on investment for project management and the PMO within there. And I've actually used that algorithm and process on multiple engagements to show executive leadership, here's your potential return on investment from going from this kind of ad hoc state of managing projects to level 2, level 3, level 4 going forward. And when they see those numbers, that
Yeah.
immediately is like,
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's a brilliant idea. So that's why I always said that, go and make friends.
yeah,
Yeah. So as a PMO, first go there, make friends, help them out, give
yep,
all the resources that you have.
yep,
Yeah. So then gradually, develop the capacity,
right,
the PMO concepts and everything. Gradually take it
exactly,
one by one.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why we have a PMO roadmap, step by step, right? So and we have
right,
a piloting phase in our PMO
yeah,
framework as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
brilliant.
can see if you look behind me
I
there
can
through
see
the
that. I can see
hanging up,
that.
right?
I can see that. I noticed that you have put it in the bag. I love
Yes,
that.
yes. So that's one of those ad placement endorsement things. We put it in the background.
Yeah, it is there. It is there. Anytime you need anything, just go back to the framework and
Exactly.
find
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But I hang it there just as a quick reference.
yeah, yeah.
It's good, to look at that and say, oh yeah, this is where we are.
Yes.
We're in the executable layer, we're in the foundational layer, wherever you may be, in that life cycle. So yeah,
Yes. I love that. Thank you, Michael. Just it's a fire chat session. What I expect that I will be the next rounds. I will be asking you a couple of specific questions. I will
okay,
expect you to give short answer within 5 seconds, right?
okay.
So is there any jokes you remember uh, for project managers?
Any jokes for project managers? I'm probably the worst joke teller in the world. I can't remember a single joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I make a joke all the time for project manager. When I teach project management, I tell my
Uh,
students that never try this at home.
Never tried it at home. That's-
Never try this at home, right? So,
There's a lot of truth in that. Yes.
yeah. So you do all the policy procedures governance in that office, right? So don't try it at home.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just think that if you have given a chance to become an alien, what one thing you'd like to change in one day, in your very first day, if you become an
If I become a what?
alien.
I'm sorry, I'm missing the first one.
Alien means this alien, right? Or you can think that you're alien or angel, whatever you think. If
Oh,
you
an
become alien,
angel. What would I
yeah,
change?
what one thing you'd like to change in your first day?
Oh, wow. And we're talking about an alien or
Yeah, think yourself alien. You have this superpower. Yeah,
yeah,
and
just
what?
change all the violence. Get rid of all the violence. Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
That is
Too much
unnecessary.
hate and violence in the world. Yeah.
True, very true. That's unnecessarily wasting our resources, time, energy, and happiness, right? So this
Yes,
that is actually
exactly. Yep.
you got a thumbs up for this. You got a thumbs up for this. I love that.
Yeah.
So in your you have this years of experience. What is the one thing, one advice that one advice that you think you change your life,
That I would change in my life.
that you have received, one advice in your life you have received from someone that
One advice I've received in my life. Don't give up, in anything. If you have a passion about something, even though somebody tells you that, maybe you're not good enough or, you shouldn't do that. If you have a passion about it, don't give up on that.
I,
Stick with it, and don't give up. Yeah.
I like that. For the senior PMOs, right? So we know that there are different types of PMOs. And I know that you also have you lead a enterprise PMO, right? So the
Yep.
challenge of enterprise PMO is very, very challenging because it works with the top management very closely from an
Yep.
organizations level. What is your advice that the two skills the senior PMOs should develop when they're managing large scale PMOs?
Boy, there's probably a few things there. Understanding the politics is really important.
Culture and politics, I would say. Culture and politics.
I mean, when you're dealing with an enterprise PMO, politics become a really big player in making that happen. Understanding who the players are and how much power they wield, between them is really important, because I want to really bring those people on that are kind of wielding that power to get their buy-in. If I have their buy-in, then it's going to help us going forward. Give you a great example, and I'll go back to the Anderson example. One of the things that we wanted to do was, when we developed this overall comprehensive methodology, was we didn't want it to look like it was a US based or US developed methodology. So we actually pulled together a team. We all went to London. We spent weeks in London developing this. And we had representation from all over the world. So it wasn't just a US-based team developing it. I had a team from representatives from all the different geographies. And then when we actually rolled it out, we rolled it out and deployed it in the UK as well. And we did the UK, the Netherlands, France, to get that, kind of global buy-in, if you will. And that was a really important piece. And that was part of the politics, understanding the politics, of the firm, and kind of the acceptance and buy-in for the whole world. If it was just a U.S. focused methodology and approach, then of course we would have done it here in the U.S. But we were talking on a global scale. We had to have that global feel, the global buy-in to it. So yeah.
I like that. Absolutely. I think this is topmost. Understanding different departments, different leadership models.
Yeah.
Adjust with different leaders, right? Understand the politics and the cultures.
Right.
It is very, very key. Very, very key. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So my last question. So, you have these years of experience. I always say knowledge is a liability unless you share it. Yeah. So knowledge is a liability unless you share it. That means if we have this experience knowledge, that we're supposed to actually share with the people that they are in need of. How do you want to contribute in the space of PMO? Since you have this years of experience.
Right. How do I contribute to the space?
Yeah, in future.
I think I contribute. To me, teaching is a big point. And I think as all of us kind of mature in our profession, it's important to teach. A lot of times you hear the old adage, well, if you teach, you can't do. I think that's completely wrong. I think, as a mentor or someone with experience, you want to teach the younger project managers, program managers coming up, and give them that experience. They're going to be much better. Particularly as we move forward in this new world of AI, how is AI going to change the PMO? How's it? I can tell you right now, it's changing even the agile approach, how we do agile on projects.
Yes.
And I think it's going to have a significant impact on the way projects are managed going forward. But it's important that you're conveying that knowledge and information, through teaching, through mentoring, through assisting in developing tools and guidebooks, things like that. You're contributing that knowledge to it to make it better. And as you look at it, if you look at the PMBOK, so I was on board during the first edition of the PMBOK. We're now on the 7th edition. The first edition of the PMO guidebook, right? It's continuous improvement, isn't it? Is it perfect right now? Absolutely not. I think you would admit that. Everybody would say, we can improve on these areas. And you'll even see the PMO maturity model. It's going to evolve. It's going to change over time. So it may go from 5 levels. It may go to more detailed, like some of the other, much more detailed comprehensive models. So it's that continuous improvement. Really important going forward.
I love that. Well, thank you, Michael. It was a pleasure, talking with you today. That was very, very insightful. Yeah. So and you have given all the best answers in the world. So
well, thank you, Abdul. I appreciate that very much.
Big congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank
I
you.
know
Thank
you guys can go on forever and keep talking.
Yeah, we can talk all day probably. So.
I know. So I am going to step up and continue. I want to thank you.
Hey, Rachel, I think we're getting a little bit of feedback on you, by the way. It sounds echoey, at least on my side. I don't know if you can hear it.
I know. I don't know what happened. Maybe if I remove both of you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. It's fine.
Yeah. But I hear the echo myself. I don't know why that is. I will anyway. I will try and continue. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Take a leave. Take care of yourself.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Let's crack on with PMO news. In the PMO Salary Survey 2023, PMO professionals assessed their PMO's maturity on a 1 to 5 scale, with level 1 representing the initial process level and level 5 signifying the optimized level. Results show 28% PMOs are at level 3. Following closely, 22.47% PMOs are at level 2 and only 9.82% PMOs are at the optimized level, which is level 5. Let's move on to PMO career. Here we are. Based on the findings of the PMO Salary Survey 2023 by PMO Global Institute, the largest proportion of PMO professionals, specifically 43.48%, who have been employed in the United States for 5 to 10 years, earn an annual salary exceeding $150K. So to grow in a career as a PMO, become a certified baseline PMO consultant, CBPMO, from PMO Global Institute and stand out to bring change in the PMO world. And now, what you've been waiting for. We appreciate you. And here is the surprise I mentioned in the very beginning. You can win. You can win by simply clicking that link here right below. You fill in a few questions on a survey. It's super simple. And that way you enter a drawing of a $89 gift voucher for PMO Global Paid Membership and a PMO guidebook. We will pick not 1, but 3 winners. So I want to wish you good luck. Also, I want you to leave a comment below because we really want to know, what are your takeaways? What did you like about today's episode? And please remember that we make PMO learning available to project professionals worldwide through certifications, knowledge sharing, interviews, episodes just like today. And you can join for free. And just go to pmoglobalinstitute.org. I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm looking forward to our next Learning Series episode. Have a good one.